Victory Mondays are always so sweet, especially when you beat the Cowgirls. A lot to talk about. Eagles take NFC East crown. And unfortunately, on some bad news, we lost a follower as well. I want to talk about that too, man. Come on in. This is Money Pot. Victory Mondays recap. Let's go. Oh, what was that? Little real reback, little feedback there. Hey man, once again, everybody, thank you for joining in for Victory Mondays. This is the Victory Monday podcast. I'm the host. I am the player. They call me Moss Money, and that is the GM, my guy. And is that a Washington Redskins helmet on the ground I see in the far background up there?
Momentarily.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Kick that shit out of here. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, my man. I see you, my man. 150 grand. Yeah, throw him up. Yeah,
A little difference in size there. It's all right.
a little bit. I
Okay.
ain't been in the gym a little bit. We little flat. That's the GM, man. You call him Ernie B. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? Just a little context there for everybody to know. One of my two roommates and childhood best friend is a diehard Redskins / Commanders fan. And the way we have our helmets set up on the left there has been my lucky side. So it's not in camera view, but it is for right now. It will be moved back afterwards. So don't blame me if something bad happens.
No, I ain't mad at you. It's all good. It's all good, man. All right, so let us talk about a lot of things going on with NFL Week 17 recap. What's going on with our Philadelphia Eagles? We'll talk about the game, ups and downs. See if we can find some things we can at least pick apart a little bit. Just see if we can find. And then obviously the big question looming about what we're going to do about Week 18, Saquon Barkley and the Giants, the record, etc. But I do want to take a minute here. I did get wind from a fellow podcast friends of ours from Santa Boot First, that follower of theirs that actually kind of jumped on and was following our show. Pat Sweeney was, I think you might remember the name, recently just passed away, lost his battle with cancer. So fuck cancer. Don't have a problem saying that. But
cancer.
they did, but the guy's a warrior, man. They gave him, I think, I can't tell the story as well, but I just wanted to give him respect on air because he did show support for the show and kind of, commented, shared, did whatever he could from where he was. But I believe they gave him like a 5% chance to live. And that was like 6 years ago. So he's been fighting the good fight. He was a fucking warrior, to be real with you.
Oh, yeah.
But it was unfortunate that I got the news. So I wanted to take a minute just to, share that with the people out there. You don't know what people are going through that come on the show from all in one. He was living in Australia. He would tune into the show, completely different time zone. So, our best prayers and wishes and our condolences goes to the Pat Sweeney family. I know you guys might not hear this or see this, but I want to put that out in the universe because I think it's a feel good thing. So, and he was a beloved Sixers fan. I mean, Eagles fan. Huge Flyers fan.
Yeah,
He was a big
crazy that this can bring us together, which is
yeah, for sure. Facts. Big facts. Okay. So with that being said, let's talk about that guy's favorite team and our favorite team and your favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Dispatch of the Cowboys in convincing fashion. I don't know what the hell. What's his name? Dan, what's his name? Oh, who's the DN? He just came out and said the game, if the scoreboard wasn't on the score, they would have won the game. Parsons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Parsons. Like, I don't know what Parsons thinking or is talking. I mean, I got nothing love for Parsons and the Parsons family, but bro, dog, come on. Like, what do you mean if the scoreboard wasn't the scoreboard? Like, that was an ass whooping, bro. Belts that, like, it was a good old-fashioned Philadelphia ass whooping. And I know you didn't like it, but we fucking loved it. Loved every bit of it, every second of it, every which way. Now, it looked a little shaky in the beginning, right? Yeah, we're moving the ball, but then all that shit just got shut down, and we just took over the game. So, positives of the game. Let's always talk on the good foot. Positive game. Obviously, our defense, right? Our defense is clicking at a great moment right now. A little bit worry. I'll get to a little bit of worries a little bit. So defense is clicking right now. Unfortunately, no sacks. I would have liked to see a couple sacks. I always talk about pressure up front. Um, Dean not being there, you could see that kind of missing a little bit.
Well, yeah, they rotated the linebackers off one time, but they rotated Trotter Jr. in there for a few snaps.
He is small. He is a small dude, man. Like,
you didn't
and
know that? You didn't know he was that small?
compared to like sitting there like on the field.
I know on paper to see the number and then to see it in person.
Nah, I was see, and it's funny you say that because somebody else said that to me. Like, I'm not comparing him to crowd. We already know he's not his dad. He's nothing built like his dad. He don't play like his dad. He's not his dad. But when I saw him next to like another like linebacker like Bond, like he looks small compared to Bond. Like,
Bond's long. You know what I mean? Bond's long, but he's lean. So, but I know what you mean. I mean, Trot's small.
Like he just looked. It looked like Bond, and then it looked like a JV player next to him. He just looked small. Yeah. Now he could play. I mean, he could play a little bit. He was moving around. I didn't follow him too much, but that was the first thing I noticed about him.
He played 2 drives, I believe, if I'm correct. He played 2 drives, which is it's good for him. I mean, Oren Burks is who filled in for Nakobe Dean, for those wondering.
42, right?
Yeah, 42. He's a core special teamer of the Niners that we signed, retained. He wasn't able to have camp with us. I can't remember if it was a hamstring or a knee or something that I think it was a knee that held him up for basically all training camp.
Yeah,
but he's kind of a big backup for us. Like that was a really, really good player to add to the team.
He's an arm reacher to me. I don't like the way he tackles.
Well, but he's not meant to play every down. I mean, he's a backup.
Yeah,
he's a primary backup, core special teamer. He's awesome on special teams. So you got to give him, give his flowers where you can. And he's a really good special teamer. And there are guys that make careers out of that in the NFL. So
for sure.
Oren Burks was the first guy up. Now they did rotate Trot. I do not know if that was for injury or whatever it is, but somebody made a call. Maybe Fangio said, "Hey, let's swap this out, see what this kid can do." It was okay. It was about the same for both. Burks came back and was about the same production. Get back to some good things. It's Howie Roseman's been called a QB, and the Eagles or Howie Roseman deemed the Eagles a QB factory. Years ago. 1 through 3, they've all thrown touchdown passes to AJ Brown in the past 3 weeks. So I mean,
that one-hand catch was silly. If it would
that was Calcaterra's though might be a little bit better if I gotta say something, because Calcaterra's catch there on the sideline.
Yeah, that was silly too. I'm a fan of Grant. I would let.
He was really good in college, man. He was really good in college.
I'm not familiar. Where did he go to college? I'm not familiar.
Oklahoma, and then
I was about to say, please say Iowa. They all come from Iowa.
Well, Oklahoma, and he actually crossed past Jalen Hurts there. And then, and then what happened is he suffered from multiple concussions and actually collegiately retired, and then came back to play for SMU. And he dominated at SMU in his last year. So
you know how SMU throws the ball around.
Well, yeah, I mean he definitely benefited from it, but he's a good route runner. He's a wide receiver turned tight end. So
yeah, I'll tell you, I could let Goddard walk out the door. I'll be real with you.
Well, I mean they've been doing that since Reed, so that's coming.
Yeah.
Hot take. Tyler Warren's on the board for anybody wondering.
For sure. Grant flashes. I think he flashes for me.
Grant, he does at times. He just can't block to save his life. So that's where.
Yeah, that's his problem. He can't block. You can't
you're
trust.
Basically, just a really slow wide receiver, and you're not tall enough to be a threat like that. So.
Yeah. No, I get that.
He did well. McKee. I mean, how do you feel about the Tanner McKee thing, man? I mean, McKee looked. How can you not say he looked good? The Mormon Missile, man.
The Mormon Missile?
That is what they call him in the locker room. The Mormon Missile.
You know what? I mean, I can't. There's nothing bad. I didn't see anything bad. I mean, I would like to see him play
third string quarterback. I mean, you gotta have a little context with it.
Yeah,
your third string quarterback. He did.
Yeah, no, you're right. And against starters, and he threw a touchdown pass. That was
two.
And. I mean, I would have threw the Smitty all day. Like, it just looked like he was playing 7-on-7. Like
he was. I mean, Andrew Booth was opposite him, and he was cut.
Like it was a complete mismatch, talent wise.
Yeah. I mean, Deron Bland's also not much of a matchup corner. I mean, he had a lot of picks last year, but he's more of a bait and see kind of guy. When you're forced to play man against a guy like AJ Brown, for him, he just doesn't really match up well at all.
I think the
type of
offensive
player
line
he
had a
is.
good game too. I thought the offensive line had a good game. I think
They played well.
I think
Jordan
Jurgens.
Mailata and Cam Jurgens played every snap of the
Yeah,
game. So through the end there, they played every snap. That's pretty big. I mean, just for anybody wondering, Jack Driscoll and Tyler Steen were the backup offensive linemen active, so they came in. But Cam
I,
Jurgens and Jordan Mailata played every snap.
Jurgens looks like he might develop into the best center in the league in a year or two. Another year
I
or
don't know
two.
about all that, but I think that Jurgens is really pushing for Pro Bowl this year.
Yeah,
I think that he's in the vote. All Pro, no, but for Pro Bowl, yeah, he's in there.
yeah.
You could say that for every starting lineman for the Eagles, and that includes Mekhi Becton, who has been really, really good this year for a guy playing a new position. But
Speaking about Becton, tears of joy walking off the field, right?
yeah,
People wrote him off as a bust. He comes here, learns the system, gets in there, a big ass grown man at guard at 6'8" and probably 360.
he's 6'7", 365. So I mean, you're talking about
That's a
a
big
mountain of a man at
yeah,
right guard.
at right guard.
But you got 6'6", 345 with Landon. I mean, and
I didn't know Landon was that tall, man. I didn't know
yeah,
Landon.
Landon's 6'6", 6'5", 6'6".
That's crazy because he was a center at Bama, right? For a little bit.
He played every position at FSU and Bama. So he played at Florida State first. And he
Imagine a 6'6" center. That's insane.
Good luck to the nose tackle. I mean,
that's ridiculous. Nose tackles. I'm trying to think if his nose tackle was that big. Maybe Hainsworth was that
Davis
tall.
is that tall.
Yeah, but those are I'm talking about oddities. You know what I mean? Most
Well, yeah, I mean,
6'1", 6'2", maybe
yeah,
6'3". Like
I mean,
6'6". 6'6" is a big fucking
yeah,
center.
yeah. I mean, that's a lanky. I mean, that's usually too
Big
tall.
center.
Yeah, 6'5", 6'6". Landon's a big boy, man. He's very big.
Yeah.
He I mean, if you notice,
he's a farm boy. He looks like
he doesn't look like a small man next to Mailata. I mean, 6'8", 365. That's just. I mean, we were actually the second heaviest height and weight combined offensive line to start the season. The Bengals actually had the biggest offensive line.
Look at
Trent Brown and the kid Amarius Mims they drafted out of Georgia are both like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", something like that. So they had an advantage there. Then I think Cam Jurgens is really small, at like 6 foot, 295. So it's like. Whatever it is, he's probably not 6 foot. He's like, I don't know Jurgens off the top of my head. I should know that, but he's smaller. But he's a great athlete, and I think the offensive line was really good.
Yeah, offensive was good. Defense, they played well.
Defense adjusted again. I wanted to bring this up.
Yeah.
I had said this in a previous show that Vic Fangio, what he brings to the table is he's one of the best adjusting defensive coordinators in the NFL, if not the best. Let's start with a first series for the Eagles. It was a false start, an incomplete pass where Devontae Smith was knocked down. They could have called a penalty on Marist Liafu, is how you say that. Next play was a short pass to Kenneth Gainwell. They missed the face mask that was on the Jumbotron. That was where everybody, fans were going a little wild there. Yep. We had a 3-and-out. They punted. Fun fact, Saquon Barkley did not see a touch or target on the first drive. So that's red flag number one.
Yeah.
Devontae went to the medical tent after that because of a wrist issue. I believe it was something about when he was shoved, the wrist might have had a little hyperflexion backwards, taped it up. He was good for the rest of the game. This is a good one. So you got the first drive was pass, punt. The second drive was run, punt. So not a lot of creativity on the offense to start the games, which has kind of been the story of the season. Let's see this. We didn't have a first down and had the ball for 3 minutes. Gardner Johnson's pick 6, which we'll talk about now, had a factor in the time of possession. But, very, very slow start for the offense. And the Cowboys defense was driving early. Gardner Johnson's pick 6 was set up. I don't know if you saw how they set that up, but Greg Olson described that pretty well on the telecast. It was just, we play match, carry, deliver. For those who don't know, you bring a guy, you carry him, and you deliver him to the next. And it's a domino effect down the board. So this time, Gardner Johnson's Zach Bond picked up Gardner Johnson's man. He was able to bait the quarterback, Cooper Rush. And so he was either going to go.
I think I saw the replay. I didn't see it live.
Yeah,
But he came off when he passed him off.
he became a what
A
would you
robber.
call that? I don't know how you. I've heard that as a true robber.
Yeah, robber. Yeah.
Or a rat. I've heard rat is the one used.
Robber would probably be the one that people
would understand. So basically,
understand.
what that is he becomes a free defender in that area.
A freelance. Yeah.
Yeah. So his whole job is to read the quarterback's eyes and go where that ball goes.
Yeah.
He predicts what Cooper Rush does, makes a great play on the ball, shows off a little bit more speed than I thought Carter Johnson had. I don't know if you saw him when he was really high knee in it, but he was moving.
He outran a lineman.
Well, no, I'm just talking about I've never seen him move that fast before.
I've never seen. I don't. He's a ball hawk for sure. And turnovers, wherever he goes.
We'll get to that because then we can talk about his second interception here in a sec. That was a little bit.
Yeah, he took it away. Yeah, he took it away from my guy Mitchell. Mitchell needed one.
So let's talk about the first thing that I'm trying to say about Gardner Johnson's speed is what I want to note is that I'm a big CJ Gardner Johnson fan. If you ever sees this, I love you, bro. You are a baller. But seriously, if you can run that fast, bring that down just like you did Isaiah Pacheco in the Super Bowl. Like, I need to see it every rep. Like, let's get to every zone that quickly. Like, you were hauling ass, bro. You've got it in you. Let's get to the second interception, which I think is a good note on the defense. I'm going to bring up a question to you after we talk about what you saw there in that play. Gardner Johnson's tracking the ball. It's a clear overthrow by Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't seen the play, basically Cooper Rush threw the ball to what seemed like CJ Gardner Johnson and Quinyon Mitchell, who were playing both of their zones correctly. And Gardner Johnson and Quinyon Mitchell catch the ball at the same time, and it ends up in Gardner Johnson's hands.
Gardner just took the ball. He took.
If you want to put it more like that, Gardner Johnson
took the ball.
How did you feel about it from the way you saw it? Because when I saw it live, I was like, "Ooh, that looked bad." And then when I saw the replay and I watched it over and over again, I was like, "Oof." I know Mitchell came off to make the play.
Mitchell came off. Yeah, Mitchell came off his guy because he saw he overthrew it.
But he was still in his he didn't break across the field. Let's not break it like that.
No.
And Gardner Johnson technically was where he was supposed to be too.
For sure. I think if you look at it, I think it was Johnson's ball.
Yeah.
You wanted it for Mitchell because that would have been his first pick, I think, from a fan perspective. But I thought it was funny. He pushed him away.
Oh, I know.
He caught it. Hey, get off me. We're running this way.
Well, if you see Quinyon makes the ball and then
about the interception later,
he starts blocking, and it was like, this is what I had to say to anybody on that, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, is because, and I'm going to put it very clearly, you'll understand this. There's one player that's trying to win Defensive Player of the Year, and there's a player that's trying to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. If there's one that matters more than the other, you should be able to guess it your own if you know the game. It's Defensive Player of the Year. And while Gardner Johnson might not be in the betting or whatever it is, and there's no chance, it's in that locker room, being a veteran matters. And being the rookie, things are going to happen. And, that was his first clear one this year, but there are multiple balls that Quinyon has dropped. So it is what it is. Yeah. Before I ask you the question, I do want to ask you this. You've been hammering the nail on Quinyon Mitchell, Defensive Rookie of the Year. These past 2 weeks, he's been targeted heavily.
Yep.
And it just seems that he's not guessing the route correctly. The deep ball, he's taken the under. The under, he's looking deep. And there's one play that I can say that I saw hope. But I want to ask you this. Is this kid soft?
I don't know, because I haven't seen him really tackle.
But he had one tackle. Did you see the one on Cavante Turpin, I believe? Maybe Rico Dowdle?
It's Turbin, though. He knows.
Well, no, I think it might have been Dowdle.
Was it?
Broke for about 14 yards, and there was one man left, and then Quinyon came in and tackled him pretty well. I think I made a note of this.
Yeah, I don't think he's soft.
It was Rico Dowdle. So he made a tackle. If I could find the play out, basically what happens is Quinyon comes off a block and wraps up and drops Dowdle, who is a slippery, aggressive running back, to the ground with ease. If you notice, there's a couple plays where I feel like he doesn't even attempt to tackle people. And my question to you is whether the kid is soft is, if I've seen him get physical, why is he hesitant to be physical coming from the player?
Yeah, I mean, cornerbacks can be funny, right? You find corners who are physical, and then you find corners who are just not physical, and sometimes they choose some. Maybe he wasn't interested in the game. Was that before or after he gave up the touchdown?
After he gave up the touchdown on the first play, there was some lackadaisical tackling, if I had to mark it. And then what I would say is after he lost the interception to Gardner Johnson, I saw physicality on a run play against Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, I think he was there for the touchdown. It was pretty decent coverage.
I think he underestimated Tolbert's hands, because if you saw, he had him and then he went for the late, just kind of tap, and that's not going to work. This ain't, you're not playing in the MAC anymore, buddy. Like this is, these are real receivers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, and it sucks because you kind of opened it up about, defensive rookie of the year, and the fact that I think the one that he gave up to McLaren could have been, it was scary, Scary Terry. So I think that
was if people break that down on tape, though, that ball from Jaden Daniels was ridiculous. Like,
yeah, it was perfect.
That play was broken. Jalix Hunt had a should-be sack. I mean, that was, again, that was Quinyon being where he was supposed to be according to the coaches. Now, that needs to be, clear. He was in the right spot there.
Yeah. I mean, good players make good plays. I think. But that one yesterday, you shouldn't give up. You know what I mean? You want to be in a defensive rookie of the year conversation. You want to be known as one of the best defensive rookies in the NFL. You want to be known as the best, one of the best corners in the NFC. You can't give that up. Not to that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Maybe if that was Lamb, okay, but not to wide receiver 3.
Jalen Tolbert.
Was it Tolbert?
Also went to South Alabama. So
yeah, wide receiver 3 maybe, I think, or 4 on that. So
3 on their roster behind Lamb and Cooks, but he's a good ball player, but he's not. He's isn't CeeDee Lamb, who next year you're going to be covering. So
right, exactly. So I don't know if he's. I wouldn't call him soft just yet. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call him.
I'm just telling you, and that's why I love to ask these questions, because I don't, players have tendencies, and I can see what I see, but I have to ask you, like, what is he thinking? You know what I mean? And obviously, we're not showing the play right now and going over it, but
I'm trying to see if I could find the play. But
if you can find the Mitchell tackle on Dowdle, it was after the Tanner McKee touchdown to AJ Brown.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it while we're
based on timeline. But I mean, that play was you could just tell, man. I mean, that was the game itself. Quinyon, I don't know. He's still. I still have a lot of faith for this guy. I think he is a really top tier corner. I just think he's been guessing a little bit wrong, and I think this whole thing about he doesn't get bothered. He's ice cold. This kid just moves on to the next play every time. I think these plays are starting to catch up to him a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's all it is.
And I really think that that's the benefit of having the veteran presence of Darius Slay here, because you have somebody that he can come talk to, or comes and talks to him after games, just to give him a little bit of hope.
And then don't forget. I mean, Mingo has some talent. Jonathan Mingo.
Jonathan Mingo is actually a wide receiver that I had a lot of. Ole Miss
and
Carolina.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Jonathan Mingo, let me just put this out there. Jonathan Mingo, and you can go back to Greg Cosell, who is one of the best tape evaluators of all time, had a high grade on Jonathan Mingo. I really like Jonathan Mingo coming out of college. I thought he was going to be a player. From what I understand with Mingo, it's work ethic related. In Carolina, there was a disconnect between the program and the player. That's we can't really speak on that, but that's just to say. But so Mingo is a talented player, but again, lackadaisical coverage ends up looking like you're not
He
very
almo-
good.
he should have got cooked on that double move because he
Yeah,
was
but Mingo couldn't locate the ball.
yeah yeah. But I'm
Yeah,
saying he was beat. He was
he
beat.
was 100%.
Yeah, and I think that goes to what you're saying that, and this is kind of going what I was saying. We talked about the positives a lot more offensively, but defensively, if we want to nitpick, I think Quinion Mitchell probably may have had one of his worst games as a pro. To be honest.
Slay got cooked by Brandon Cooks multiple times too.
Yeah,
So I mean, it was. I would say the DBs have done their worst job these past 2 weeks they have all year. So it's the worst time of the year to get a disconnect on the back end.
yeah.
Gardner Johnson was absent for uh, a half or whatever of the last game, so that's relevant. I mean, you can't hold Tristan McCollum and Avonte Maddox to the same standard that you hold Reed Blankenship and CJ Gardner Johnson to.
Mhm.
I will say Cooper has had a couple plays where he's gotten beat. The DBs are being exposed. They just continue to force turnovers, man. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, Orrin Burks.
Turnovers in the last two games is insane.
I mean, they continue to force turnovers. Jalen Carter continues to be a presence. If you notice, Gardner Johnson, did you see where Carter was yapping off and Gardner Johnson walked him? I mean, shoved him all the way back to the sidelines. It was pretty funny to see him as the mediator in a verbal conflict with Jalen Carter. It was awesome.
Anything else that you saw from that game that's worth noting? I think one thing that you did say that you mentioned defensive player of the year as well. You think Zach Bond really has a shot here? It's not a clear cut winner.
No, I don't think so because I still think it's a sack or interception based award,
Mhm.
which there's not really a game changer there.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
him.
Zach Bond has legitimate All Pro, like first team All Pro potential.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think that's very possible.
Mhm.
Again, that's still kind of a popularity contest.
All pro, you think is?
Well, not like Pro Bowl, but it's you're like for instance, there was a year where I cannot remember the guy that won it above him, but that Mailata had outperformed somebody through and through, and Mailata got Pro Bowl, and this tackle got All Pro, and it was a veteran to young guy thing. I
Yeah.
mean, there's bonuses and stuff involved in this, so it gets a little finicky at certain positions. But I think Zach Bond, I mean, should, in my opinion, be an All Pro inside linebacker for
I
the
mean,
AFC.
I'm not sure when this is done, but it's hard to argue that whole offensive line, maybe outside of Becton, is
I think
going to
they're
be.
all eligible for the Pro Bowl. I mean,
Yeah, they'll
seriously,
all make the Pro Bowl.
they should. I mean, they've I believe on PFF, Jordan Mailata is the highest graded football player of any position this season up to
That's
this
pretty sick.
date.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, he's the best story ever. I mean, that dude is
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you ever heard him talk or sing, but the guy is just,
Oh yeah, we heard him
he's
talk.
fantastic, man. I had the
Yeah,
pleasure of meeting him in person, and him and his family, and they're just great people.
that's
And
cool.
Jordan's a specimen, man. Like that's a. I mean, shout out to Jeff Stoutland, of course. I mean, he's fantastic with what he works with. I mean, we were talking about Becton earlier. That the hats go off to Stout and Jeff Stoutland University, and that's where this team, builds their focuses on the offensive line and defensive line. And without that, we don't have a chance for Saquon Barkley to come in and get 2,000 yards.
Great segue.
Um, so you want to talk about Pro Bowl for those guys who got some pretty sweet golf carts. I don't know if you saw those.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was Hurts and Barkley teaming up for the gift there. I thought that was cool. Every offensive lineman got one, so that was dope. But I mean, 2,000 yards in 16 games, that goes out to the offensive line. I think this is Saquon. This has got to be his best career year. He's not topping this. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah,
this is it.
yeah, yeah.
Still, I don't see MVP, man. I just don't.
No, not now. So, and I think that, like I said, great segue. One game left, and they're doing the oranges, the apples, oranges, the oranges, however you want to say it. Comparison with him and Dickerson, and right now, even though it's taking him possibly more games, he has less carries than Dickerson by a good margin. He has 32 less carries than what Dickerson had to break the record. So we all know he can break the record against the Giants. there's no shot he does not break the record outside, knock on wood, something happening. I won't even say it. But you, the GM, you bring Sirianni in, you bring Kellen Moore in, you bring Saquon in. You know he's going to get 100 yards if he plays against the Giants. But this game is meaningless. Speaking of that, too, as well, we'll get to the playoff picture. Right now, San Fran has something to say against Detroit, even though I think Detroit's going to fall. I think the injuries is going to catch up to Detroit. He can't sustain that much.
Just tell me the score. Just tell me the score, please, because
San Fran.
What's the score?
14-6 San Fran. 14. They just scored. So
we're at 33
we'll
minutes.
Get to the playoff picture because I think that's a good conversation too. But before we move on to the playoff,
hey, carry the show for 30 seconds. You know what I got to do.
Oh shit!
I got to go walk the dog.
So Saquon Barkley right now is rushing for Eric Dickerson's record, and the question is right now: do we play and go for the record, or do we sit Saquon Barkley? Like, that's what you have to ask yourself. That's where we are right now. Because this game coming up means nothing. We're locked in the seed 2. Right? Number 2 seed, we're going to play either the Packers or the Commanders. And right now, it's the Packers. The way the seeding and everything's kind of following suit. So that's an interesting matchup because everybody thought, oh, it'd be the Commanders. Packers, a good team. Right? We saw them week 1, right? We understand what that team is. We understand what that team can do. Good team. I don't know if I like the Packers coming here. I'm not really scared of anybody, but it's a tougher matchup than I think people give credit for. And the Packers could be a dangerous team. But do you run or do you play Saquon Barkley? I mean, that's really that's the $1 million question. Do we chase history, get etched in the history books? Or are we going this run, make sure he's healthy, going into the first game in a wild card matchup, hosting a game here to possibly, make a long run and get us to the Super Bowl and, of course, Broad Street. Are you playing Saquon Barkley against the Giants?
I was prepared for this one. Ready? Jim Brown broke Steve Van Buren's single-season record in 1958. O.J. Simpson broke Brown's record in a 14-game season. Eric Dickerson broke Simpson's record in a 16-game season. If Saquon passes Dickerson in 17 games, what does it matter? You know what I mean? Like, there's the history,
It's history.
There's the history. The way I started that is because how important really is it? Well, somebody brought this up earlier on Twitter. I won't give them credit because I'm not their biggest fan, but this is a Jeffrey Lurie decision. This is his investment.
Jeffrey.
And this is his decision.
Interesting take.
Now, in my opinion, and this is no insider information, but they've already made that decision and he's not going to play.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to.
None of the starters will play.
I agree.
He played very late into that Cowboys game.
He didn't even play the fourth quarter, though. That's the thing.
No, he played up until 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's
so those 5 minutes, and they handed it.
I felt like he could have got the record against the Cowboys. To be
every play. Listen to me. If he would have broken an 85-yard run, and he would have been 45, 35, 25 away from the record, he plays the first half or the first quarter. I guarantee it. I'd bet money on it.
Yeah.
100 yards, it's just too far away. And I hate to say this because if he wins that, he's a lock for the MVP, but those are both 2 individual records. And, it sounds corny, but you can't succeed without the greatness of others. Nick Sirianni. Yeah. So I think that the decision's been made. And I think that the way they ran him at the end of that game, they elevated Ty Davis-Price, for those who don't know. Kyrian Davis-Price is a former third-round pick of the San Francisco 49ers. He's been on the Eagles practice squad this entire year. They elevated Ty Davis-Price, and I believe they gave him 1 carry, maybe 2 there at the end. But they opted not to run Gainwell or Davis Price, because they were without Will Shipley. Mind you, he was out with a concussion. But they had 3 running backs active, and they ran Barkley like a dog, dude. Like, I mean, they did it. And the idea was, if he does what he's done almost every other game this year, he breaks a big run. It just happened that his run for the record was just busted outside for like 21 yards. He has had 60-something yard runs. He has had a 70, you know what I mean? Yeah. If he would have had one of those, it's a different discussion. I think even at that point, maybe, there's no chance Jalen plays. But Kenny might play. I mean, there's a chance Kenny might play. I don't think there's a chance Kenny plays now. I think Tanner McKee's getting the start, and with Ian Book on the roster, I think that's.
And if Shipley comes back, he'll play.
Yeah, Shipley should be ready to play.
Yeah.
I mean, to be Gainwell's backfield. Gainwell, they're going to give Gainwell 30 carries.
None of the starters are going to play. And I completely.
Bryce Huff will play. Don't get that twisted. He will play.
Yeah, he had a shoulder injury. I think I saw. He a little fragile, man.
He came back.
Yeah, he came back.
He's
this a bad deal. Just a
paper
bad
and glass. Paper and glass. That was a bad decision by Howie. I like the.
We'll see next year. I mean, he'll come back. Obviously, he's going to be here
next year, man. We'll see with the playoffs. I mean, we'll see. Like, he's an undersized. He's a Lego built. You know what I mean? Like, he's small. He's short and stocky. He's very square. But he's got speed to power. Not to get too in depth here and Bryce up, but he's got speed to power at a wide 9. He's
got a skill set to rush the passer, for sure.
You know what I mean? But it's like when the second these arms come up, you lose all of it. It's like what the. But
honestly, and I said this before
on that. I mean,
I said this before about him, and like you said, we don't want to spend too much on Huff, but I think it's a good thing because he could be a missing piece that can help you with a run because he's another pass rusher, which you need. And
you got to have rotation. You got to have rotation.
Yeah, you got to have waves of them, and that's how we got to the Super Bowl before, because we had waves of pass rushers in both years. So,
yes. Vinny Curry's a god in this city.
Yeah, I'm not a big Vinny Curry fan, but I thought he was overrated. But like Chris Long only had like 5 or 6 sacks that year that he was here, but he was impactful, bro. Those 6 sacks felt like 12.
Chris Long, you don't win the Super Bowl without Chris Long or Vinny Curry, but.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I completely agree.
Long was,
but when Long came out and he rushed the passer on third downs, like he put constant pressure.
Out of that wide 9 too. Out of that wide 9 is where they specified. So that was Jim Schwartz defense, but
Chris Long is a different. He's a different animal because in this is
old school.
But I say this before. I said this before about Huff. I don't think he's a smart player. You have to have a plan, and you have to be a smart player. I think on the Jets, when you go and say go rush the passer on third down, that's easy for him. He can just go. But when he has to go out there on first down, second down, he has to think, and that messes him up. I just don't like this. Like you can be all the time.
Davis is another player. Yeah, it's a different position, but I mean Davis is another guy where he thinks he messes up.
Some players are like as much as aggressive.
Jalen Carter is innate.
He's an intelligent player.
He's an intelligent player. Put it to you like this, Nate. We both know Carter is one of those dudes who just gets it. There are some dudes who just see football better than other people, and they don't have to be the smartest, bro. You remember
when he called out the play and the dude was pulling? He's a smart player, like
extremely intelligent football player.
Yes, absolutely.
Extremely intelligent football player. Absolutely. Another example of this is Rob Gronkowski. Extremely intelligent football player.
Yes.
Could he read you the playbook? No. He'll tell you himself. He said it multiple times. But the dude could see something before it fucking happened and knew where to be. And that makes you great in that moment. So,
but circling back around, like I just don't think Huff is a smart player. That's what I kind of see.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is. And you have to have some intelligence to play this game. You can't just go run.
And I think you need to touch on the fact, though, that this defense is not easy from individual to individual because it requires more than you doing your job. It requires you to be aware of, and that's, you could tell me that's everybody's defense, but specifically this one requires so much communication. And Carter's great at that because they did it at Georgia. So, and that's why we notice a difference when Nakobe is commanding the defense and somebody else is. Because while Nakobe Dean might not be the best middle linebacker in football, Nakobe Dean is one of the smartest football players on the field.
Yeah.
And that dude puts people where they need to be. For anybody that wants to watch, you can watch him every pre-snap. Him and Carter are constantly talking.
I was really surprised when they were doing his bio. Wasn't he like some type of like nuclear bionic like engineer or something? He went to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
was a biochemical engineer. Some
he was valedictorian. I know that.
Yeah, not like Dean
Nakobe Dean is
we're not talking about intelligence on the field. We're talking about intelligence off the field. He's
a mechanical engineer. Whereas
mechanical engineer.
Yeah, Nakobe's dude. He's a guy that I really wanted to succeed. Just that dude really sparks fire into some guys. I mean, he's a
leader.
He's a true leader. So Saquon.
Yeah, get back to Saquon and we'll move on to the playoffs.
Well, so we talk about the Saquon, like where we're at.
Yeah, I agree with you though.
There's no way he plays.
I don't think he plays.
I don't think anybody plays. I don't think Carter Johnson plays. I
don't think it makes any sense for them to
play. If I had to give you just to make a note of it, Huff, he's gonna play.
He should get
depending on how that shoulder is. I don't know which shoulder it was. He is wearing a club on one hand. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did see that.
He's wearing a club. So, but I mean, he's necessary. They don't have it. They cut Charles Harris.
Okay.
So it's for the rest of the year, barring the unforeseen or signing anybody, we have Sweat, Smith, Hunt, and Huff. Right now, Huff's the fourth. So.
And you need him. You
do. I mean, that's kind of a thing is you have to have him moving forward. So, you need him. It is what it is.
Because
as I understand right now,
I'm a big Hunt fan. He's still figuring it out, from what I can see.
He is. He's still
figuring it out.
His athleticism flashes at certain times.
It flashes a lot when he makes a play because you're like, oh shit, did he just
special teams though? He looks. But
I read he was an ex running back, right? So that's why he's got skills. He was a safety.
He played a safety at Cornell.
Yeah.
How about smart off the field? Jalix Hunt is.
Yeah, that's why he has wheels. That's what a lot of these some of these defensive linemen are. Like they're ex skill positions that couldn't make it in their skill position. They switched over to defense, and now because they run, they super athletic. I mean, athletic.
The size of defense has done this over the years. It's condensed pretty thoroughly. I mean, it really has.
But getting to that, Barkley, you got the 2000, which I think is a bucket list for him. I think he said that getting to 2000 is
part of a group of 9, I believe. There's not 10 on the list. I think he's the 9th, so it's like
it is going to be asterisk because he could have broke the record, but he's such a teammate.
Let me put it like this: they win the Super Bowl, we'll never talk about it ever again. They lose the Super Bowl or lose at any time in the playoffs, they will talk about constantly about how they didn't let Barkley get that record. We could have had Barkley have the record.
He would have broke it. He would have got MVP. True.
The city would have had something to have.
So right now,
on something.
Oh right! Oh damn! They scored. I didn't think they were going to score. Wow! They must have got. Oh, Williams just caught a 42-yard bomb, 14-13. Niners, and I bring this up because as of right now, looking at the playoffs, let me bring up the little graphic that I had to show you guys what the playoffs look like.
The last time we spoke, we were a lock to play Washington, and everything's changed now.
Yeah, everything has changed. Let me take that little banner down so we can see at the bottom here. So this is what the playoffs look right now. If the playoffs ended right now, this is what it would be. Minnesota gets the number 1 seed, which was kind of crazy to see. I want to talk to you about Minnesota, but 5 and 4 would be Detroit and Tampa. The Rams hosting Washington. I think Washington gets them in that game. And then Green Bay coming to Philly in a rematch.
You're talking about Mr. Stafford's going to give that win to Washington, and Mr. Stafford himself.
The reason why is because the first thing I look at playoffs is like home field advantage, right? Because I think that's a big deal. But
Rams, they're at home.
Yeah, but LA is not a big home field advantage. And I think Washington.
It's not home field advantage.
I saw more Washington colors in this week alone than I have in like the last 5 years. So I think they show up big in LA. And I think that crowd is a lot of pigs in that crowd. You know, if you guys are old school with the Washington, the Hogs.
They
Um,
should have been the Hogs. They should still switch to the Hogs. That's the
yeah,
best name
a
in
lot of
football.
Hogs, a lot of Hog fans, and a lot of Washington fans. I think you see a lot of gold and maroon out in LA, bro. And I think Washington shocks them and beats them. Especially they got Allen back too. That's huge from a defensive line standpoint. Us is going to be. I think it's a tough matchup. Let's go to us, right? Don't like Jalen not playing 2 games or 1.5 game, but I
I
think
love it. I
you
love
love
it.
it. You love the refresh
Love it.
right there.
It's historical for us.
Mhm.
17, we lost Gordon for a little bit longer than usual. But in 2022, Minshew had to come in and play a few games, and we stumbled into the playoffs like we did, like we're doing this year. And
You think we're
I
stumbling
think
into the playoffs here?
I think we're stumbling
I
in
feel pretty
injury
good about our
wise.
team coming in.
I think we're stumbling in injury wise. I mean, we haven't had a bye week since week 5,
Hmm.
and or week 6. Yeah, week 5 was our bye. So I mean, that's a really tough note on this team. And to get a week for some guys to get some rest. I mean, Lane Johnson already said that like that's a blessing just to be able to have that opportunity. Um, and that it really helps for the playoffs. So I think knowing this team, they're going to rest damn near everybody,
Yeah. So just so you know, I think this is important too. Hurts is 2-3 in the playoffs. His
including a Super Bowl loss.
including the Super Bowl loss, and his Achilles heel is going to Tampa Bay.
Yes, it is. But
You
I
can't
will say this fun
go to
fact
Tampa.
for, we started off this season for the show and the season as fans questioning Nick Sirianni. If Sirianni and Matt LaFleur go head to head, they are tied second all time for the only head coaches to start their first 4 years into the playoffs.
Nice.
So
Yeah, Sirianni's starting to sit with. I forget the guy's name. I'm not too good on my Eagles history, but he's sitting. Only one other guy has a better record than him starting starting this fast with his record. And
starts with an S.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with.
Scheimer, I think.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the
Yeah,
name.
that fun fact. He's the one that LaFleur and Sirianni are behind.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I heard the name today. I know it. I just couldn't. It's an old name.
Yeah, the old name. Yeah, I'm not familiar
Yeah,
with.
old name. It's not really relevant to what we have right now. But what the point was is that this dude is. I mean,
You talking
he's.
about Sirianni?
Let's see. I tell you he's 47-20 as head coach.
Yeah,
So those
yeah.
are college numbers for anybody who doesn't keep up with stuff like this.
It's
Like
silly.
those are flat out college numbers. That's silly.
Yeah, it's
I
up
mean,
there. It's
he's
definitely
won the NFC's 2 out of 4 years.
So this is the last show until 2025, man. Give me a prediction, man. What do you think about and what do you see in this Green Bay versus Eagles game? More likely. I know Green Bay is having a little bit of injury issues, but I suspect that Jair Alexander will be playing in the playoff game for sure.
Um, Outside of
So
Tampa Bay, this is our worst option for playing round one.
it is. I agree with that as well. This is
Um,
this is not an easy matchup.
and I think that if we were to lose this game, Jeffrey Lurie would have a really, really, really hard time with his decision on what to do with Nick Sirianni.
Mm.
There's still speculation that the guy's got to go out and win a playoff game,
Yeah, I did see that.
and that's real. But this team has a way of getting better, and what we were week 1 to what we are now. Obviously, that's a generic statement, but what I mean by that is they have really good coaches and they have really good coaching and they have brought really good players together and they continue to get better and they fight through adversity.
Yeah, have a good team.
Not having Brandon Graham really fucking sucks right now. I mean, because this is the nitty gritty where Lane Johnson becomes pivotal. He's kind of the guy that everybody's going to be looking at. Like you said, Jalen coming off injury, how's he going to be? Is he going to be a little trigger happy? Because the worst part is Jalen had just started playing his best football. And then he takes a concussion. So I think
it'll be a tight one. I think we can pull it off. I think the home crowd will get us home. That
my
defense,
optimism says that as long as we're at home through the playoffs,
yeah,
we're going
that's
to
where
be
I'm at.
okay.
We'll be okay as long as we're home.
And the good thing is Minnesota and Detroit both played a dome. So
yeah, fast track. Yeah.
Not the end of the world.
Minnesota's going to be. I think Minnesota might get to the NFC Championship. I ain't going to lie to you. They are cooking right now. They are cooking on all
My
sides.
gut doesn't tell me this, but I'll say it, man. I mean, I think there's a legitimate opportunity this team is holding the Lombardi Trophy in February. I mean, I
Birds
really
or
do.
Minnesota?
The Eagles.
Oh, okay.
I think that
A rematch, Eagles versus Chiefs.
I want it.
I want it too. Yeah.
We're way more prepared for it than we were last time. The roster's not as good. I'll give you 22 that, and I don't care what anybody said. 2022 was a much better roster. I mean, he had
I
Gardner
think
Johnson.
I think they're more, and I say this with a grain of salt, and I know what I'm saying about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I just think X's and O's on paper they look like they're more easily defendable this year.
I think that this year we are more built to go up 21-0 than we were last year in the first half.
You talking about against the Chiefs?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I think that they could go up real early and hand the ball to Saquon Barkley and win the game.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't have that when we faced them. We didn't have Barkley.
No, you had Miles Sanders.
Yeah, even though Miles had a good year that year, not taking away from Miles, but he's not Saquon. He's not 2000.
I'm a
2K.
fan of Miles, but
Miles had a good year that year.
Miles is local this year, and Miles has been local for the past couple of years.
I believe it.
He's having a bad life.
All right, give me a quick prediction, man. What you got score wise? Let's throw it out there in the air.
I'm gonna go Eagles 33, Packers 26.
Not bad score. I think it's close to what the first game was.
I'm gonna go Washington over the Rams.
Slut, I see you. Go ahead then, boy.
I'm going to go Washington over the Rams. I'm going to go 24-19.
Okay.
Detroit beats the Bucks 33-31 on a game-winning field goal. And Minnesota beats – I'm not going to do scores here, but Minnesota beats Detroit. Eagles beat Washington. Eagles beat Minnesota. Eagles go to the Super Bowl.
I like the way you're thinking. The only thing is I do think Detroit loses to Tampa. I think Tampa.
They could. I mean, that's the team that could expose Detroit. I mean, they've already beat them. I mean, Detroit, dude, Tampa has beaten the Eagles and Detroit already.
Yeah, I think Detroit's a little bit scared than what people think. It's just if Baker can stay hot the way he's throwing the ball, then they're going to be they're definitely going to be a tough out with that offense. They're just so dynamic.
Most passing touchdowns in the NFL over the past couple of years.
Yeah, so I don't like playing Tampa again. It's been an Achilles heels of us, but they love storylines, right? Nobody like Detroit would be a good storyline, but they're so hurt and so banged up. Their whole team's on IR. They're down right now 21-13. And San Fran has really, half their offense out there and they're scoring at will. And it's just
that game ain't over yet.
Yeah, that game's not over, but I'm just saying, like, Detroit's not going to be able to stop anybody offensively. I really like us, if we face Detroit. But it's lower seed will go to Minnesota, and I think that's where you see the rookie get kind of spooked in a hostile environment. I've been saying this for years from a betting perspective. Minnesota has a definite home field advantage. They were good. And what's that stadium called? How did I forget it when the snow fell in? Oh man, I forget the name of that stadium. But they had that stadium home field advantage with Mike Zimmer. Great. Then they went outside the University of Minnesota when they were getting a new stadium built. Still had great home field advantage outside. And now back in the dome, they're still great at home.
US Bank is the new one.
There you go. Thank you. So I do agree with your pick here. I like Minnesota versus Eagles.
Would be Washington, like you said, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be Washington, and then
Eagles would play Detroit there, and then it'd be Minnesota.
Yeah, I think Tampa beats Detroit, and there's going to be a scoring matchup, and I think Detroit can outlast them, just because Detroit just don't have enough bodies, unfortunately, and they have to play this game, right? They're fighting for their lives right now, and I think soon it just catches up with you, even though they had a great year. But now I agree with you. I like Philly over Green Bay. I'm going to go 33-30. Give me 33-30. I think a close game. We're up. we're up 30 to we're up 33 20 24 or 23. They score a late touchdown and we finish off the game. I like the Washington pick. I said that about earlier, and I thought about Tampa versus Minnesota. You get Minnesota in NFC. Then you have us versus I'm sorry, Washington goes to Minnesota, and then they have us versus Tampa. We get over the hump there, and we go to I think them not having Chris Givens is going to kind of hurt them because he's really what killed us in that first game. I think they become a little bit more easy to defend it, and then Vikings versus Eagles NFC Championship. Was that an NFC Championship? No, that was Arizona. We went to with Donnie. They came here in the NFC Championship. Did we play them there in a playoff game?
No, we played there in the Super Bowl.
You played there in the Super Bowl
and won. Yeah.
Yeah, I won. Okay. I think they're built like us almost. It's just that the quarterbacks are two different style of quarterbacks. They have an elite receiver and they have a number one receiver. And I think that's kind of similar. They have some pass rushers. They get home a little bit, better. I think you talked about Fangio. Flores is a great end guy adjuster. He has a great scheme. I think there's a lot of similarities. Great coaching. O'Connell's a great coach. Younger guy. A lot of similarities there. That'll be a really tough.
Yeah, they're young. The Vikings just have to prove to me that they can't outdo themselves, which they tend to do very often. So until they can't outdo themselves, I just, I don't know. Darnold has to not Darnold,
He's been doing it all year though. And
well, Kirk Cousins last time we played him. So he tends to do that. And I mean, O'Connell's a great coach. I love Brian Flores. I'm a big Brian Flores fan. I mean, he's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, but I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be a tough game, I think.
I think lick for lick. I just think that I think that we would take him to the yard.
I think Barkley could go off in that game. To me, that could be.
I think it's Barkley. I think it's get off the bus kind of thing. Like I look at them get off the bus, I look at us get off the bus, and I go, "This is Bama versus Central Florida." I'm dead serious.
I see it in your face.
They have players, but they don't have. I mean, Jefferson's really great. Like he's the best receiver in football. But okay, you have Jefferson and Addison. That's fine. I've got AJ Brown. I've got Devontae Smith, so we can counter that out. Pass rushers, that's fine. Let's talk about defensive line. I've got Jalen Carter. You don't have an offensive lineman close to in the interior to doing anything to him. I mean, Jordan Davis can even get work in that game. They just,
I thought they had. No, he's been gone.
Christian Darrisaw got hurt. They paid Christian Darrisaw. He got hurt. So they've been.
There was like an all-pro guard there too a while ago. I think when we went through our list.
Brian O'Neill was the man you tried to show a lot of love to. He still plays there, but he's a right tackle, and he's just old. And Brian O'Neill's solid. But they don't have an offensive line that like I said, dude. Like it's an off the bus kind of game. Like Detroit gets off the bus, even with all their injuries. I'm kind of going, oof. Tampa gets off the bus. I'm like, God, fuck. Vita Vea and all those guys. Like I'm like, Jesus, man, here it goes. Washington too. Washington's got some grown men, but Minnesota is all finesse. Their coach like it, the rosters like it. Aaron Jones, king of finesse.
Anything out of the upcoming week NFL 18 matchups are you interested in? How about all the Burrow MVP talk kind of sneaking in there? Here's a good one. Me and Brent were going back and forth this one. Offensive player of the year, Burrow or Saquon? Burrow's going to play against the Steelers. So he's going to pat his numbers. So Burrow will throw for over 5,000 yards, and he would get close to 50 total touchdowns. That's like top three.
They'll give it to
five.
We'll give it to Saquon.
You're going to give it to Saquon still? That's where he was. I said
politically they're going to give it to him just because it's like he did this and we didn't give him the MVP. Like we got to give him something. Like
that's what he was saying.
There's going to be like there's no way to not recognize what he did. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they'll do this.
Yeah, just
they'll do that.
Good job. Year. How about that? Fantastic.
Because they're talking about if somehow since he gets into the playoffs, I mean, Burrow's a legit dark horse for MVP.
Yeah, he is, but you could get NFC Offensive Player of the Year. So it's like that's not like NFC Offensive Player of the Year.
I already put money on it. I put money on the long shot, even though I have money on Saquon to kill me with my MVP.
Burrow. I think Burrow's a dark horse to win the MVP, but their story wasn't good enough. You know, like it just.
Yeah, nobody don't want to see them. I'll tell you that. So nobody wants to see them in the playoffs.
That's a wash season for them. I couldn't imagine being in that position and then that going like that, you know?
Yeah. Any big plans for the new year coming up? I know usually you young guys be out in these clubs getting no clubs for New Year's Eve.
I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Maybe I don't know. We'll see.
I will say though that I say on the injury front, Becton left the game for a little bit. I can't remember. I think him and Pickett rolled ankles with each other. Something like that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Gardner Johnson with his ankle.
That was a little bit more scary for me.
Gardner Johnson with his ankle.
I think he should be good though. Hopefully.
And then obviously Shipley, Bryce Huff shoulder we talked about earlier. But I think none of that really matters with a week off. So you just I got one for you before we leave. We don't have to dive too deep, but what the fuck are the New York Giants doing, dude? Can you not even get the number one pick correctly? Like, dude, like how stupid are you? Like, what?
Dude, they were hyped to win that game.
Dude, they were, and Drew Lock says, who gives a fuck about the number one pick, yo? Like, if you don't, I know you don't.
I don't know.
We're out here playing ball, bro. We're out here playing ball, man.
I don't know. That organization, like, and it used to be such a bright organization. You hated Giants fans, but they are becoming one of the laughing stocks in just poorly run organizations.
I've always viewed them my entire life.
I mean,
those Super Bowls couldn't make me respect them.
Yeah, he could. He could really dick him over and run for the Super Bowl. I mean, run for the record on their, in MetLife Stadium, but they're giving them grace and they're not. So they look bad there already, and then you go out and win this game. And now I think what are they? This fourth pick now? They dropped out of the top.
Fourth or fifth, yeah. They dropped the fourth.
Yeah. And now you're you're out of the race for a quarterback. Now you got to trade up.
Shador already got the shoes made, man. Why are you doing like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Shador got the shoes made, man.
I mean, the Raiders won too.
Well, Shador got shoes made for the Giants, though. He was wearing Giant shoes.
Yeah, he won.
Chris Shiloh called him out for wearing fake Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and his dad's Deion Sanders.
It was Atlanta colors though, right? I think it was Atlanta colors.
No, they were red and blue.
Oh, they were red and blue. They were red and blue. Okay. Yeah, I can't really say. I don't know how you get up as a GM owner and you clap like that was a good look. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest here.
They don't know what it is.
After Cam and Shador Shador, I mean, who's your three? Dart? Maybe. I mean, Aller's not coming out.
I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I mean, Ewers.
Game changer. I think to be honest, if you want me to put this out there now, in December of this year, number one QB on the board, Shador Sanders. I mean,
I actually have Ward.
I'd take Shador over him.
Yeah, I'm a big Sanders fan. I'm a big Sanders fan. I think he might be one of the toughest, if not the toughest player in the whole draft.
Yeah, he's willing to take hits. The only thing he's got to get fixed is that little hitch in his elbow. He's got a little elbow hitch. He just needs to bring that ball in a little bit.
He's pro ready, and I think he could lead a team to the Super Bowl.
I think
if he has the talent around him,
I think he could be a consistent NFL quarterback. I think he can just constantly be a good NFL quarterback.
I think he could be a franchise quarterback. I do. I think
I see Geno Smith at his height. Like I see Geno. Like if Geno would have worked out earlier, we would have seen Geno kind of have an elongated career. Like that's kind of where I see his play.
But Gino had some magic. Couple of those Seattle's years.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's not bad. I'm just saying if Gino had an elongated, successful career, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
turn them into younger. Like, but I don't see anything better than Geno Smith is at his highest play. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna make throws, he's gonna take big hits, he's gonna lead, but he's not the guy. He can be a guy, but he's not the guy for that franchise. I think that Shador can take a team somewhere. I think Vegas, honestly, is probably his best bet, where you'd have Brock Bowers, and that franchise would just basically let him do, all right, give him what he wants, give him what we need, we'll succeed. New York, I would just see being another dumpster fire for him. I mean,
yeah, I don't like him in New York.
They ate up and chewed Daniel Jones alive. You know what I mean? Like, and watch him. Mark my words here. He will go to another team and he will look not like Sam Darnold is with the Vikings, but he will look like better than he did in New York. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, what the hell happened?
No, Daniels has some talent. He's got some talent.
Dude, he will do it. I promise.
The modes that we're seeing now is the Josh Allen mode. The big, tall, big arm.
Well, I mean, this year's draft was a lot of smaller.
They're smaller,
not, more,
like Aller, right? Like Drew Aller.
Well, that's next class, yeah.
Yeah, that next class, like that's going to be the prototypic, and that's to me is
he's a mode of. That's going to be the peak of what you want, yeah.
Yeah. He's the mode of.
Football is doing a yin yang switch where we're seeing the running game and the trenches come back.
Yep.
And because it's right after we paid wide receivers and corners, because this is the ebb and flow of the economy of the NFL, and this is how it works.
Yeah.
The NFL, for people who don't want to admit it, affects the 7-on-7 that your son plays every weekend. So, we used to actually line up in the trenches as kids. Now they're just playing 7-on-7. It's going to go back to where we're going to see more offensive linemen. It's all a big circle.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's coming back around.
We'll definitely get into that once the off season comes. We'll nerd out a little bit and get into that. So,
yeah.
We had a great year. If you guys have been watching the show, you've seen how this show has evolved along the way, right? We started off something completely different, and now
Houston fans, man, go Birds.
Go Birds.
It's been a fantastic year.
Yeah, it's been
been happy to be a part of the team, man. This has been a fun one. I mean,
yeah.
Glad we were winning because it started off ugly. I mean,
yeah. I mean, and it's funny because every week is like Victory Mondays at this point. So I'm wondering what we're gonna do when we lose. So I gotta, when we lose,
we gotta have
break that down.
Therapy. We can call it therapy session for Eagles fans. Like, come on to us. We'll bring you back to reality. We promise you.
Therapy Mondays, I like that. Victory Mondays and Therapy Mondays. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
is it Victory Monday or is it a Therapy Monday?
Yeah. There's been a lot of Victory Mondays, man. So
regardless we drink, it is either celebratory or it is lonesome sorrow.
For us here at the Victory Monday podcast, always a great win when you beat Dallas, and especially the way we do it. We want to tell you guys, be safe, have a happy new year, and let's go get it in 2025, man. We're going to do the same thing. So let's go get it. Go Birds. Need that.
Bring me, dog. One more. We just need one more, man. We just need one more.
This is Moss Money. This is Ernie B. We will see you in 2025, man. Have a good night, everybody.